Welcome to Chapter 5. Now that you've reviewed the literature and understand your research area, it's time to craft the specific focus of your study. Today, we'll learn how to write clear, testable hypotheses, purposes, and questions that will guide your research design and data collection. Think of hypotheses, purposes, and questions as the GPS for your research journey. They tell you exactly where you're going and help you choose the best route to get there. If you know enough to make a prediction, write a hypothesis. If you want to explore but can't predict what you'll find, write a purpose or question. The choice depends on how much previous research exists and how confident you are about potential outcomes. Hypotheses are appropriate when you have enough background knowledge to make educated predictions. They're based on theory, previous research, or both. The example shows a clear, testable prediction about two specific variables: children's reading interest and parents' reading time. Notice the hypothesis doesn't just say they're related, but is specific and says a direct relationship, meaning as one increases, the other increases too. This three-variable hypothesis demonstrates key principles. First, all variables must be measurable: reading interest, minutes of reading aloud, and TV watch time. Second, it specifies directions: reading time increase interest, direct relationship, while TV time decreases it, inverse relationship. Third, these are observable behaviors that researchers can actually measure and test. Value judgments like good or bad cannot be tested scientifically because they are subjective opinions. The improved version focuses on measurable satisfaction that can be compared across different political systems. Similarly, avoiding predicting exact statistical outcomes like 50% or more. You can't know specific percentages in advance. Instead, predict the direction of relationships. Research purposes are perfect for exploratory studies when you don't know enough to make predictions. The weak example is vague about what effectiveness means. The strong version is specific in exactly what kind of effectiveness will be measured, helping students identify career options that match their interests and talents. This specificity guides your methodology and data collection. Research questions are simply research purposes rephrased as questions. Choose whatever feels more natural to you. The key is avoiding yes or no, because research findings are rarely that simple. To what extent questions allow for nuanced answers and degrees of influence which better reflects the complexity of human error. Always specify your target population clearly. Young adults gives you a specific age range to recruit. Young, never married mothers is more specific, telling you exactly who qualifies for your study. This helps with recruitment and reminds readers that your findings apply to this group, not necessarily everyone. Usually, don't mention specific measurement tools in your hypothesis, purposes, or questions. Those details are in your methods section. The exception is when you're actually studying the measurement tool itself, like validating a new questionnaire. In that case, the measure is your main focus, so it belongs in your research statement. In treatment studies, researchers manipulate the independent variable, like type of therapy, and measure the dependent variable, like anxiety levels. The independent variable is what you control or assign to participants. The dependent variable is what you expect to change as a result. In non-experimental studies, you are looking at relationships between variables without manipulating anything. When you have multiple hypotheses, number them clearly. This makes it much easier to organize your results section. You can present findings for hypothesis 1, then hypothesis 2, and so on. So numbering also helps you ensure that each hypothesis is tested and reported. It's really just a simple organizational tool that makes complex studies more clear. Exercise helps you practice the concepts we've covered. Think about what you might realistically predict about college stress and coping. Would you hypothesize that certain coping strategies work better than others? Or would you take an exploratory approach to see what strategies students actually use? Consider what variables you could measure and what population you would study. Common mistakes can weaken your research statements. Vague language doesn't give clear direction for your study. Unmeasurable concepts like happiness need to be operationalized into specific measures. Value judgments can't be tested scientifically. Yes, no questions do not capture the complexity of human behavior. Always aim for specific, measurable, and testable statements. Your hypothesis, purposes, or questions shouldn't appear out of nowhere. They should be the logical conclusion of your literature review. If your review identified that most studies use college students, maybe your research will test the same relationship in working adults. If studies show conflicting results, maybe your research will solve the conflict. The best research statements feel inevitable after reading the literature review. Remember that good research statements provide clear direction for your entire study. They should be specific enough to guide your methodology, but general enough to allow some flexibility. The key is matching your statement type to your knowledge level. Predict when you can, explore when you can't. Next week, we'll learn how to choose research approaches that can actually test your hypothesis or address your research questions effectively.